All right, so I've started this 100-day learning challenge, and I wanted to do a quick check-in with you. Now, this isn't going to be some story about, instant mastery or mind-blowing results. Nope. It's about something way more basic, and honestly, something that's a whole lot harder. It's just about starting.
And that's really the core idea here. See, I kicked this whole thing off on a Wednesday, so this isn't even a full week's review. It's just a 4-day check-in. The goal was to set a direction, not to judge the results. It's all about the process, not some perfect outcome right out of the gate.
Okay, so first up on the list, drums. Yeah, this one's personal. It's all about trying to reconnect with a passion that I kind of let slip away over the years.
My whole drumming journey started way back in middle school, believe it or not, just tapping away on practice pads. That little spark, it eventually led me to get my very first acoustic kit as an adult. The only problem? It was so loud. I could barely ever practice. So I switched to an electronic kit, and I was actually making some real progress. And then, well, you know how it is. Life just sort of took over. The drums just went silent, collecting dust. This challenge is my way of finally plugging back in. So yeah, I'm going right back to basics. Day 1 was literally just hi-hat and snare, super slow, 60 BPM. Then on day 2, I brought in the kick drum. Day 3 was all about getting that timing even, and by day 4, I was trying to isolate some kick variations. And man, I struggled with that third beat. But it's been so grounding. A little nostalgic, for sure. And honestly, I'm just so happy to be playing again. All right, let's switch gears to the next skill. This one's a completely different beast. It's about finally facing something that has frankly scared me for years. Data science. I've always been pretty good at seeing patterns in things, so data science always seemed like something I'd be into. But I don't have a STEM background, no coding experience, so I just told myself it was, out of my league. And that feeling, that intimidation, it's powerful. It literally stopped me from even starting for years. So this whole challenge is really my way of pushing back on that little voice in my head. I have to keep reminding myself there's no age limit on learning. And really, how are you ever supposed to know if something's for you if you don't even give it a shot, right? And I'm already starting to get into some really fascinating ideas, like take deterministic versus probabilistic systems. A deterministic system is predictable. The same input always gets you the same output. But a probabilistic one, that's where chance comes into play. The same input could lead to a whole range of outcomes. Just wrapping my head around these big ideas, that feels like the right first step. So for these first few days, I've been looking at these concepts through a lens I actually know, marketing. We're talking about the difference between measurement and just simple reporting, why attribution is so tricky, and that classic one, correlation versus causation. And you know what? It's starting to click. And that, for me, is a huge win. Okay, next up, I've kind of bundled two things together. They aren't skills in the traditional sense, but they're just as important to me. I'm talking about exercise and philosophy. And for me, this is all about building habits that support my physical and mental health. I mean, for years, I let work and, let's be honest, just pure laziness shove exercise to the back burner. But as I get older, I'm just not okay with that anymore. It's so important for my mental health, for managing some chronic pain. It just has to be a non-negotiable part of my life now. And my structure is super simple, which is exactly what I need to stick with it. It's just a 10-minute warm-up, about 40 minutes for the main workout, and then a 10-minute cool-down. That's it. And the impact was immediate. I feel better. Oh, and there's been this amazing bonus. My mom and I have been working out together over video call, even though we're on different continents. How cool is that? And then there's philosophy. My goal here isn't to become some expert who can quote a bunch of old guys. No, it's simpler and I think more practical. I just want to learn how to think better, to actively question things, pull ideas apart, and see how they actually apply to my own life. And the process has been really cool. I started on day 1 just by, reading, getting familiar. By day 2, I was trying to spot the questions and the claims. Day 3 was about finding the hidden assumptions. And by day 4, I was practicing how to disagree with one little part of an argument without just throwing the whole thing out. And let me tell you, that is such a useful skill, and it's actually kind of fun. Okay, on to the last two. And these are the big ones. For me, these are the skills that represent the biggest, toughest mental blocks I have. So, Spanish. Believe it or not, this entire 100-day challenge, it started because of Spanish. I've been living in Spain for over a year now, and I still can't really speak the language. I built it up in my head into this enormous, unachievable task, this impossible mountain. But you know what these first 4 days showed me? That the mountain was all in my head. The biggest obstacle was purely mental. I started with the absolute basics: how to introduce myself, words for family, simple sentences. And it turns out I actually knew more than I thought. The hardest part, by far, was just getting started. And that brings us to what I'm calling the final boss of this challenge: meditation. This has been, hands down, the hardest thing for me. I've tried it so many times and failed every single time. On day one, I honestly wanted to quit the whole thing immediately. I was just like, nope, this is impossible. I actually told my boyfriend and my mom, I can't do this. But what they said back to me, it completely changed my perspective. They reminded me that the discomfort I was feeling, that intense urge to stop, that was exactly why it needed to be on the list. The difficulty was the point. So I switched tactics. I started using a guided meditation app, and I just kept showing up. It was still really irritating, super uncomfortable. But then, on day 3, and then again on day 4, I did it. I sat for the full 15 minutes. And right now, that feels like a massive, monumental win. So when I look back at these first 4 days, what's the big lesson here? For me, it all boils down to one simple idea: starting honestly. Look, these 4 days were never about becoming a pro drummer or a data wizard overnight. It wasn't about being perfect. It was just about showing up, about facing that initial awkwardness, that frustration, and just beginning. And that beginning, it's messy. Of course it is. There's friction, there's frustration, a lot of uncertainty. But it's also full of these amazing little sparks: nostalgia, curiosity, these tiny moments where you feel a little bit of momentum. And you know what? That feels like exactly the right place to begin. So I'll leave you with a question. What's that one thing you've been putting off? The one thing that feels a little too big, a little intimidating? What if you tried to start it? Not for 100 days, not for forever, but just for 4 days. What would that look like?